In my previous life, I was the true wealthy daughter brought back to the Lin family. Yet, blinded by my desperate thirst for familial love, I was easily led by the nose and framed by the fake daughter, Lin Mumu. My parents turned their backs on me, my brother despised me, and ultimately, I was kicked out of the house and tragically froze to death in a snowstorm. Reborn, I found myself returning to the very first day I stepped through the gates of the Lin family mansion. I was determined not to fight or scheme. I would just play the pitiful role to keep my little life safe. However, little did I know that my entire family, except for that green tea fake daughter, could hear my inner thoughts. The bone-piercing cold from that snowstorm seemed to still cling tightly to my flesh. I woke up with a start, my chest heaving as I panted. My hands unconsciously gripped the edge of the soft leather seat while the warmth from the luxury car blew against my face, pulling me back to reality. Through the transparent glass window, the wrought iron gates of the Lin family villa, sparkling with golden light, were slowly opening. I bit my lip tightly. The heavy, metallic taste of blood filling my mouth reminded me of a crazy truth. I had come back to life. I had truly returned to my first day at the Lin family, the day the tragedy of my previous life began. In my past life, when I found out I was the real wealthy young miss who had been switched at birth, I harbored so many illusions about blood relations. I completely trusted Lin Mumu's sweet smile, the fake daughter who had taken my place for 16 years. Only to be led by the nose, step by step, until I became a crude, vicious country bumpkin in everyone's eyes. My biological parents turned their backs on me, and my biological brother abandoned me. In the end, I was driven out of the house into a snowstorm and froze to death by the roadside. In this life, I absolutely will not repeat those same mistakes. No fighting, no explaining. I will just quietly play the role of a pitiful wretch to survive, waiting for the day my wings are fully grown so I can leave. The car stopped in front of the marble steps. The door opened, and what struck my eyes were faces both familiar and strange. My father, Lin Jinnan, stood with his arms crossed, looking majestic. My mother, Su Qin, had red, teary eyes. Beside them was my older brother, Lin Hao, tall with a cold expression. And, of course, there was Lin Mumu, wearing a pure white silk dress like a true princess. Seeing me step out in old, threadbare clothes, my mother choked up and took a step forward. But before she could speak, Lin Mumu quickly ran over and affectionately linked her arm with mine. "Sister, you're finally home. Everyone has been looking forward to seeing you." Mumu smiled radiantly, her voice as sweet as honey. "Let me show you inside." I timidly pulled my arm back a little, lowered my head, and, pretending to be afraid, nodded slightly. Mumu pulled me through the main doors. My cheap canvas shoes stepped onto the thick carpet in the living room. She glanced down at my shoes. A flash of contempt crossed her eyes very quickly before disappearing completely. She pointed to a small wooden door hidden at the end of the ground floor hallway. "Sister, your room on the second floor is being repainted, so the smell is very pungent. Just stay temporarily in this guest room on the ground floor for now. Although it's a bit small, it's very cozy and convenient to get around." I looked up, my eyes full of obedient gratitude. "Yes, thank you. Just having a place to sleep is great enough." Outwardly, I cowered like a timid little quail, but in my head, a sarcastic train of thought coldly rang out. "Oh, this room is really good. Mumu is so far-sighted. She must be afraid the country stench on me will make Mom nauseous. If I step up to the second floor and dirty those expensive carpets, Mom will definitely hate me. Forget it, I don't dare to climb high, this damp corner is fine. Anyway, having a place to sleep that shelters me from the wind and rain, and not having to fight with pigs for mud-covered food like back in the countryside. I am already very satisfied." Just as my thoughts faded, the spacious living room suddenly sank into a dead silence. I frowned slightly, curiously lifting my head to look. The faces of my parents and brother were entirely stiff. My father widened his eyes, his usual majesty completely shattered. My brother, Lin Hao, furrowed his sharp brows tightly, His eyes carried an extreme look of shock as they swept the room and then landed squarely on me. Only Mumu didn't understand what was happening. She still maintained her innocent smile, pulling my hand to walk toward that cramped corner room. "Let's go, sister, I'll take you in to see the room." "Who allowed you to take your sister in there?" A sharp, cold voice rang out, laced with suppressed anger. It was my mother. She walked over quickly, forcefully brushing Mumu's hand off me. The push wasn't light, causing Mumu to stumble back a few steps, a look of panic flashing across her face. But almost immediately, her eye sockets turned red, and tears fell sparsely down her beautiful face. She looked extremely pitiful. "Mom, why did you push me? Did I do something wrong?" Mumu choked back sobs. "I was just afraid the paint smell upstairs would affect sister's health. Seeing this downstairs guest room looking neat and warm, I just wanted her to rest temporarily. I really only meant well." Seeing Mumu cry, I instinctively shrank my neck and took a step back. In my mind, a bitter sigh unconsciously echoed. Here we go again. Mumu's tears are truly the ultimate weapon. Seeing her crying so heartbreakingly, Mom and Dad must be aching inside. After all, I'm just a wandering child who newly returned. How can I compare to their 16 years of affection? This time, for making her cry, I'll definitely be scolded for being ungrateful. Just stepping into the house and already bullying my younger sister. I'll probably be kicked out into the yard to stand for punishment soon. I closed my eyes tightly, bracing myself for the familiar wrath to descend. But the scolding never came. Instead, a warm, soft embrace wrapped tightly around me. A gentle fragrance enveloped my trembling body. My mother's arms tightened, as if she was terrified I would disappear again. "Silly child, don't be afraid. Mom is here. No one dares to bully or punish you," my mother spoke, her voice trembling and mixed with an overwhelming heartache. "Mom personally decorated the biggest princess room on the second floor for you half a month ago." Then, she turned abruptly to look at Mumu, her gaze sharper than I had ever seen. "Paint smell? That room used only the most expensive natural materials, and the air purifier has been running non-stop for 2 weeks straight. Where would there be a pungent smell? Do you take me for a fool?" Mumu was rendered entirely speechless. Her complexion turned from pale to an ashen green. She bit her lower lip tightly, her eyes filled with utter panic. Clearly, this script was entirely outside her calculations. She hastily looked toward my father and brother for help. "Dad, brother, I really smell the pungent odor." But my father just coldly snorted. He clasped his hands behind his back, his voice deepening with oppressive authority. "If there's a problem with your nose, then tell the butler to take you to the hospital for a checkup tomorrow. As for now, put away those tears immediately. Today is a joyous day welcoming Wanwan home. What are you crying and sniveling for? Are you trying to curse someone?" Even my brother Lin Hao, who was known for his coldness and his frequent indulgence of her, coldly withdrew his gaze. He approached me, took off his suit jacket, and gently draped it over my thin shoulders. "Welcome home, Wanwan," he said in a low voice. Mumu completely collapsed. She stood rooted to the spot, forgetting even to continue faking her tears. I stood blankly, letting my mother lead me by the hand up the red-carpeted stairs. My heart was in complete chaos. Why had everyone's attitude suddenly changed like this? Could it be that they had been hearing my inner thoughts all along? I secretly turned my head to look down at the living room. Lin Mumu stood isolated in the middle of the vast room, her hands tightly clutching the hem of her silk dress, her beautiful face now contorted with jealousy and resentment. I blinked slightly, the corners of my mouth curling up into an invisible arc. If the whole family really can hear my inner thoughts, then in this life, Lin Mumu, you are absolutely going to lose. The first night sleeping on the soft, high-class silk-covered princess bed, I almost didn't dare to toss and turn vigorously, afraid this was only a dream. But when the morning sunlight shone through the curtains, the tangible warmth reminded me that I had safely passed the first hurdle. After washing up, I smoothed out the wrinkles on my old, torn t-shirt and hesitantly walked downstairs. The Lin family's dining room was as large and magnificent as a five-star restaurant. At the long table covered with a pristine white tablecloth, the whole family was already seated. My father was reading the business newspaper, my mother was sipping floral tea, and my brother Lin Hao was scrolling through reports on a tablet. Seeing me come down, my mother immediately put down her teacup, a radiant smile blooming on her lips. Wan, come sit next to Mom. Did you sleep well last night? I obediently nodded, timidly pulling out a chair to sit down. Yes, the bed was very soft. Thank you, Mom. Directly opposite me sat Lin Mumu. She was wearing a sheer, pale pink lace dress, her hair styled in elegant braids. Even though she had just been scolded mercilessly yesterday without a chance to save face, today she had completely recovered her usual sweet, angelic demeanor, acting as if absolutely nothing had happened. Right at this moment, the servant served breakfast. Today's meal was Western style. In front of each person was a premium beef steak, seared golden on the outside but still blushing red on the inside, oozing a bit of pinkish red juice, accompanied by a set of shiny silver cutlery. Mumu's eyes flashed with a hint of smugness. She picked up her knife and fork with an extremely elegant and textbook-perfect posture, cut a small piece of meat, put it into her mouth, and smiled at me. Sister, you should try it. Beef must be eaten medium rare like this to retain its sweetness and tenderness. You probably rarely had the chance to eat Western food like this back in the countryside, right? Do you need me to teach you how to hold your knife and fork like a proper aristocrat? Her words sounded caring, but every syllable was like an invisible blade slashing at my country bumpkin label, deliberately exposing my lack of refinement in front of my parents and brother. I looked at the unfamiliar cutlery on the table, then at the piece of beef still oozing bright red blood. My hands unconsciously gripped my shirt hem tightly. I clumsily picked up the fork with my right hand, then awkwardly switched it to my left, biting my lip as I forcefully stabbed the fork into the slab of meat. My appearance was utterly pathetic and comical. The corners of Mumu's mouth rose even higher. She reached out, using her own fork to grab a bloody piece of meat and tossed it onto my plate. Don't be shy, sister. Our family is very rich, we couldn't possibly finish it all. Just pretend you're eating fried rice back in the village. I kept my head down, not daring to reply. I opened my mouth wide, shoved the unchewed meat straight down my throat, and swallowed it whole as if afraid someone would snatch it away. At the exact same time, panicked, pleading thoughts popped into my head, transmitting straight into the minds of the other three. The meat is so good, so tender. I have to eat faster, otherwise, it will be snatched back. I remember back in the countryside, if I just chewed a little too slowly, my uncle would knock my rice bowl to the ground. He'd force me to kneel, pick up every mud-covered grain, and stuff it into my mouth. If I cried, I'd be beaten and starved. That feeling of my stomach churning and tearing, having to sneak out at midnight to drink tap water just to fill my belly, it was truly terrifying. Mumu holds the cutlery so beautifully, her movements when cutting the meat are as elegant as a princess. She probably has no idea what it feels like to live in constant fear of having her food snatched away. I'm so clumsy and crude, if Mom and Dad see this, will they despise me and kick me out? Crash. The piercing sound of silver violently striking a porcelain plate cut through the atmosphere. My father, a man who always maintained a mountain-like majestic demeanor, now had both hands trembling violently. He gripped his fork so tightly that his knuckles turned white. His eyes were bloodshot, etched with terrifying red veins. My mother had covered her mouth, tears welled up from the corners of her eyes and streamed down onto the backs of her hands. She choked back a deep breath, as if desperately trying to stop herself from sobbing out loud. My brother, Lin Hao, dropped his tablet onto the table. The air pressure around him instantly dropped below freezing. His sharp, cold eyes locked onto the blood-oozing plate of meat in front of me. Only Mumu was completely blind to the horrifying transformation of the family. She was still smiling smugly, urging me on. Sister, what's wrong? Choking? If you can't use a knife and fork, just ask the servant to get you chopsticks. Don't force yourself and suffer. Bang. My father slammed his hand hard onto the ironwood table. The deafening sound made the glass cups tremble violently. Mumu jolted in shock, the smile on her lips freezing and shattering. Enough. Shut your mouth. My father roared, his voice carrying a towering, heaven-shaking wrath. Mumu shrank back in terror, her lips trembling. Dad, I just wanted what's best for sister. What's best for her? You force her to eat this bloody thing with that charitable attitude and call it good? My father stood up abruptly, pointing straight at the kitchen and shouting, Butler. Clear this plate right now. Throw all the knives and forks outside. The butler and several servants ran over in a panic, their hands clumsily clearing away the plate of meat in front of me. My father glared and ordered, Go down to the kitchen and immediately cook a bowl of thoroughly stewed abalone and bird's nest porridge. Bring a pair of ivory chopsticks up here. From now on, raw food and Western cuisine are strictly forbidden for breakfast in the Lin family. Just make the hottest, most easily digestible Asian dishes for me. My mother rushed over and wrapped her arms around my shoulders. Her trembling hands stroked my messy hair, her tears falling steadily onto my cheeks. Good girl, Wan. Baby, don't be afraid. No one will hit you, no one dares to take a broom and whip you. From now on, you can eat as much as you like. Chew very slowly. No one is allowed to touch your food. My brother, Lin Hao, stood up coldly, dragging his chair over to sit right next to me, effectively blocking Mumu's line of sight. He pulled out a soft tissue and carefully wiped the sauce from the corner of my mouth. His low, oppressive voice sounded out. Sister, you don't need to learn any of those phony aristocratic rules. In this house, whether Wan likes to eat with chopsticks, a spoon, or even grab food with her hands, that is the rule. Whoever has an opinion can get the hell out of the house immediately. Lin Hao's last sentence was like a resounding slap across Mumu's face. Her complexion was now as pale as a sheet of paper. Her eyes widened with panic and humiliation. She bit her lower lip so hard it bled, tears of grievance welling up, but she didn't dare cry out loud, only lowering her head toward her own plate of meat. 15 minutes later, a steaming, fragrant bowl of abalone porridge was brought up and carefully placed in front of me. I picked up the spoon, scooped a small bite, blew on it gently, and put it into my mouth. The warmth spread from the tip of my tongue all the way down to my stomach. I blinked, forced out the most innocent smile possible, and looked up at the three of them. I didn't bother opening my mouth to say a word, just letting my most genuine-sounding inner thoughts echo in the quiet space. It's so delicious, so warm. The Lin family is truly warm. In my entire life, I've never eaten anything this good, nor has anyone ever protected me like this. Even if I died right now, I could close my eyes and rest in peace. Hearing my inner thoughts, my mother couldn't hold back her sobs anymore. She buried her face in her hands and burst into tears. My father turned his face away, secretly raising a hand to wipe the corners of his eyes. Meanwhile, Lin Hao's large hand, resting on top of my head, tightened gently with absolute steadfastness. I lowered my head to sip the porridge, the corners of my mouth hidden behind the porcelain bowl curving into a triumphant smile. The price of hypocrisy is very steep, Lin Mumu. Take your time and enjoy it. The clock struck 11 p.m., and the space inside the Lin family villa sank into silence. I left my door slightly ajar and sneaked down the stairs with the lightest possible footsteps. During dinner, I had noticed my brother Lin Hao ate very little. Every now and then, he would frown, his hand unconsciously pressing hard against his upper abdomen, his complexion pitifully pale. That appearance of suppressing pain was exactly like the people tormented by stomach ailments back in the countryside. I had taken the liberty of begging the kitchen staff to let me borrow a small corner. I diligently peeled fresh Chinese yam and stewed a small pot of porridge. The induction cooker of the wealthy was too modern, full of flashing touch buttons that made someone like me, who was only used to cooking with a wood stove, fumble in confusion. While carelessly lifting the lid, the scalding steam rushed straight up, leaving a red, irritated patch on my wrist. But the mild, soothing aroma of the yam porridge made me smile. I rubbed my burn and carefully ladled the porridge out into a small porcelain bowl to bring upstairs. As soon as I stepped out into the living room, I froze. Lin Hao had just returned from the company. He wearily loosened the tie around his neck, leaning his entire body back against the sofa, his eyes tightly closed, revealing sheer exhaustion. His face was even paler than it had been in the afternoon. From the stairs, Lin Mumu walked down in a soft silk nightgown that accentuated her lovely and elegant appearance. In her hand was a steaming cup of coffee, the bitterly rich aroma spread throughout the living room. "You've worked so hard, brother," Mumu said sweetly, placing the coffee cup on the glass table in front of Lin Hao. "I made you a cup of strong black coffee so you can stay awake and keep working. It's the flavor of the beans you praised before." Lin Hao slowly opened his eyes. Before he could reach out to take it, Mumu turned and saw me standing blankly in the corner of the wall, holding a wooden tray with a steaming bowl of porridge. The corners of Mumu's mouth immediately curled into a half-smile full of sarcasm. "What are you doing in the kitchen at this hour? Hungry again? Oh, why are you bringing porridge out here?" Mumu threw out mocking words, her tone acting as if she knew everything. "Don't you know that brother hates these bland, watery dishes the most? He is busy with thousands of things and needs coffee to stay awake. Who would eat this country food?" I kept my head down, my hands gripping the wooden tray tightly. The burn on my wrist brushed against the edge of the tray, sending waves of stinging pain. I raised my tear-filled eyes to look at Lin Hao, then timidly took a half-step back. At the same time, a bitter, aggrieved sigh echoed in my mind. The induction cooker is really hard to use. Earlier, I pressed the wrong button and the boiling water splashed up. It burns so much. During dinner, I saw brother constantly frowning and clutching his stomach, his face pale and his forehead covered in cold sweat. With such severe stomach pain, if he drinks this thick, strong coffee, how can his stomach endure it? It might even perforate and he'd have to go to the emergency room. But Mumu is right, my yam porridge is too rustic, and it's served in a cheap porcelain bowl I borrowed from the kitchen auntie. Mumu made such expensive, fragrant coffee, he probably won't even glance at my worthless trash. I should just take it back to the kitchen and pour it out, lest standing here becomes an eyesore to him. The moment my thoughts ended, I turned around to leave, but a hoarse voice carrying a cold anger rang out from behind me. "Stop right there." I jumped in fright, my feet rooted to the floor. Lin Hao stood up abruptly, his oppressive aura making the air in the living room seem to freeze. He looked down, his eyes sweeping over the expensive cup of coffee on the table with disgust, before growling at Mumu, "Tell me, I have stomach pains and you make me strong coffee to drink. Are you caring for me, or are you trying to kill me?" Mumu was stunned, the smile on her lips freezing as if she had just been slapped. I didn't know you were in pain. I just saw that you've been staying up late working recently. You didn't know, or are your eyes just for decoration?" Lin Hao coldly cut her off, disappointment evident in his sharp eyes. "Take this black sludge and pour it out immediately." Panicking, Mumu hastily picked up the coffee cup, tears welling in her eyes. Biting her lip, she ran straight into the kitchen, not daring to talk back. Lin Hao didn't even bother looking at her. Taking long strides, he approached me. His tall figure blocked the chandelier's light, casting a steadfast shadow over me. He looked down, his deep black eyes stopping at my red, blistered wrist. His breathing suddenly grew heavy. "You little fool," Lin Hao scolded softly, but his tone was strangely gentle and filled with heartache. He directly reached out, taking the porridge tray from my hands and placing it on a nearby table. Then, he carefully grasped my small wrist and pulled me over to sit on the sofa. "Butler, bring the first aid kit here immediately," Lin Hao called out loudly. While waiting for the flustered butler to run out, Lin Hao picked up the bowl of yam porridge. He used the porcelain spoon to scoop a mouthful into his mouth. I stared at him, my eyes wide in surprise, forgetting the stinging pain, and asked blankly, "Brother, the porridge is very bland. You don't dislike it?" Lin Hao swallowed the warm porridge, the sharp pain in his stomach seemingly soothed by more than half. He looked at me, his eyes so gentle they could melt into water, completely different from the cold, ruthless CEO he was in the business world. "I don't dislike it. This is the best porridge I've ever had. Will you cook it for me every day from now on? Is that okay?" My heart swelled with immense joy. Enduring this burn was not in vain. From the hidden corner of the kitchen hallway, I caught a glimpse of Lin Mumu's silk dress peeking out. Her hands were clutching the wooden doorframe tightly, her eyes red with jealousy as she watched our brother carefully apply ointment to my burn. I blinked slightly, the corners of my mouth hidden in the shadows curling up. "The fun has just begun, my good sister." This weekend, the Lin family was hosting a large-scale charity banquet to officially announce my true identity to high society. To prepare for this important event, early in the morning, my mother, Su Qin, personally brought me and Lin Mumu to one of the most high-end private designer boutiques in the city. The boutique was vast and magnificent, with rows of dresses sparkling under the crystal lights. My mother had just sat down on a smooth velvet sofa to review my measurements and figure through the designer's portfolio. Meanwhile, Lin Mumu was busily running along the clothing racks. A moment later, she returned, happily holding a dark purple evening gown covered in large, gaudy sequins running down the bodice. The design of the dress was both tacky and matronly, and the neckline featured a revealing, deep V-cut. Mumu held the dress against my body, smiling brightly. "Sister, this outfit suits you perfectly. I guarantee that if you wear this, you'll be incredibly eye-catching and draw everyone's attention at the banquet." I looked down at the dark purple dress in my hands, my rough fingers gently touching the fabric, and timidly bit my lip without replying. Seeing me hesitate, Mumu leaned close to my ear, lowering her voice to a whisper that still echoed slightly in the quiet boutique. "Don't be picky, this is Mom's taste. Mom likes girls to dress a bit more maturely. Bright colors are only for those with natural elegance from childhood, like me. You just came from the countryside, so stick to dark colors to be safe. If you clumsily spill wine on yourself, no one will see it. If you displease Mom, she'll send you right back to the countryside." Hearing the words "send you back," I hastily nodded my head, my hands tightly clutching that tacky purple dress. I looked up at my mother sitting on the sofa, trying to force a fawning smile. I said softly, "Mom, I like this one. I'll go try it on." Outwardly, I pretended to be very pleased, but deep down, I let my aggrieved and terrified thoughts transmit freely to my mother's brain. "This dress is so dark. If I wear it, it will definitely make my skin look dull, making me look 10 years older and completely rustic. Moreover, the neckline is cut so deep. The long scar from when my uncle whipped me with a rope hasn't completely faded yet. If it's exposed, people will point and gossip." But Mumu said this is Mom's taste. She said Mom hates girls wearing bright colors, and if I displease her, she'll throw me back into the pigpen in the countryside. As long as Mom looks at me and smiles, without frowning in disgust, it doesn't matter if I become the ugliest clown at the party. I'm used to being humiliated. I can endure being mocked, I'm just afraid of making Mom lose face. Crash. The sound of a high-end porcelain teacup falling and shattering against the floor rang out. My mother stood up abruptly, her chest heaving violently. Her eyes were pinned on the faint scar peeking out from the collar of my old t-shirt. Her eyes were bloodshot, filled with heartbroken tears and towering rage. She strode over quickly, snatched the dark purple dress from my hands, and threw it mercilessly onto the floor. "Mom, why did you throw it away?" Mumu asked, startled, her face full of confusion. I picked that outfit very carefully. Slap. A harsh slap landed squarely on Lin Mumu's fair cheek. The force was so strong that she staggered and fell to the ground. Clutching her reddened cheek, her eyes widened as she stared blankly at my mother, looking at her like a stranger. I was stunned, taking a half step back. Even though I knew Mom would be angry, I didn't expect her to act so decisively and directly. You dare call this cheap rag carefully chosen? My mother roared, her trembling finger pointing straight at Mumu's face. Were your aesthetics eaten by a dog, picking this old, ridiculous thing for your sister? I just thought it matched her aura, Mumu sobbed, her tears ruining her makeup. I thought you liked a mature style. Shut up. My mother yelled coldly, her voice steely and unforgiving. Since when do you have the right to represent my tastes? When did I ever say I hated bright colors? When did I ever intend to kick my own biological daughter out of the house? What kind of garbage are you instilling into Wanwan's head? Hearing this, the color completely drained from Mumu's face. She didn't understand how the words she had just whispered into my ear were heard by our mother. Could Mom read lips? She shook her head in panic, crying and begging. Mom, I didn't. I really just wanted to help sister pick an outfit. My mother couldn't be bothered to look at her crocodile tears. She turned to the head designer, who had been trembling in the corner of the room, and ordered, bring out all the dresses that cover the neck, made from the highest quality natural silk, in the brightest colors. The designer nodded hastily, running off to mobilize the entire staff. Just 5 minutes later, a pristine white evening gown made of soft, hand-woven silk was brought out. The neckline was a stylized mock neck designed with exquisite French lace, just enough to cover any scars on the neck while enhancing an elegant, pure beauty. My mother personally took the dress and gently draped it over my body. Choking back sobs, she stroked my messy hair, her trembling voice overflowing with maternal love. My Wanwan is only 16, the most radiant and beautiful age. You must wear this pure white dress and be the most gorgeous princess. If anyone in this house dares to mock you or bully you, I will tear them apart. From now on, every scar on your body will be shielded by your mother. No one has the right to hurt you anymore. I looked at my mother, my eyes involuntarily growing hot. This time, I wasn't acting. I was truly moved by the absolute protection of this woman. I hugged the white dress and obediently nodded. Yes, I'll listen to you, Mom. As the staff led me into the fitting room, I sneaked a glance through the mirror. Lin Mumu was still slumped on the floor, one hand clutching her swollen, red cheek, her gaze viciously glaring at the retreating backs of my mother and me. She bit her lips so hard they bled. I let out a faint smile. Just keep being jealous. Just keep holding on to your hatred. Because the more you lose your temper, the faster you will dig your own grave. The next morning, the atmosphere in the Lin family villa became extremely solemn and bustling. The butler directed the servants to clean every nook and cranny until the floors were shiny enough to act as mirrors. The reason was simple. My grandfather, Old Master Lin, was returning from the nursing home today to visit the biological granddaughter who had been lost for 16 years. Grandpa was the supreme authority of the Lin family, famous for being strict, completely impartial, and incredibly meticulous. Even my father, a man who breathed fire in the business world, had to stand respectfully and timidly in front of him. At exactly 10 a.m., an imposing, bulletproof black car pulled up to the front door. Grandpa stepped out with the support of his assistant. Even though he was over 70 and had silver hair, his eyes remained exceedingly sharp, radiating the overwhelming aura of a patriarch. Our entire family lined up neatly in the living room to welcome him. After Grandpa sat down in the intricately carved red sandalwood chair in the center of the room, Lin Mumu immediately stepped forward. Her face had been skillfully made up to hide the red swelling from Mom's slap yesterday. She flashed her sweetest smile and offered a luxurious velvet-wrapped brocade box with both hands. Grandpa, welcome home. Knowing you have a passion for calligraphy and painting, I had people search everywhere to buy this Ming Dynasty ink painting as a gift for you. I wish you a long life of 100 years and abundant health." Grandpa nodded slightly, gesturing for his assistant to take the box. His eyes showed a hint of satisfaction at the thoughtfulness and tact of the granddaughter he had watched grow up since childhood. "You have a good heart. I like it very much." Mumu took a step back, shooting a blatantly provocative glance in my direction. I timidly took a deep breath, hugging a small package wrapped in coarse brown craft paper, and stepped forward. The eyes of everyone in the vast room seemed to zero in on the ridiculous, rustic paper bundle in my hands. "Grandpa. I am Wan. I don't have the money to buy expensive things. This is a small, humble gift I made myself. I hope you won't disdain it." I kept my head down, my voice as tiny as a mosquito's, as my trembling hands offered the paper package. Grandpa frowned slightly and reached out to take the bundle. The craft paper was opened, revealing a pair of knee pads knitted from coarse, rough wool. The stitches were clumsy, some large and some small, and the inside was lined with dried leaves that emitted a faint, earthy herbal scent. Lin Mumu suddenly let out a giggle, covering her mouth and speaking in a half-joking tone. "Sister, our family isn't so poor that we need to use these ragged things. Grandpa is used to using the most premium items. Your knitting is so coarse, and what kind of weeds did you stuff inside? What if you cause Grandpa to get an allergic rash? Even if you want to curry favor with him, you shouldn't just casually offer up garbage as a gift." My parents were about to speak up and scold Mumu, but before they could open their mouths, I hastily pulled my hands back, my face displaying utter panic as I curled up like a frightened little hedgehog. Instantly, panicked, tearful thoughts echoed in my head, transmitting straight into the minds of the 4 Lin family members. Mumu is right, my things are too dirty and garbage. These are the last herbs I risked my life climbing a cliff to pick. My hands were sliced open by rocks and bled. And this roll of coarse yarn, I had to stay awake for nights secretly knitting under the bed, hiding it carefully at the bottom of my backpack from the village because I was afraid my uncle would find it and throw it away. I heard Mom say Grandpa's knee joints ache when it rains. These herbs lining the knees will keep them warm and relieve pain very well. But Grandpa is in such a high and noble position, and that painting was so expensive and beautiful, how could he touch this rustic, rough thing? If he really gets a rash, I'll definitely be beaten to death. I'm so useless, I shouldn't have brought this unlucky thing out. My grandfather's body suddenly stiffened. His usually sharp eyes widened in sheer shock as he stared blankly at me. He swept his gaze over my parents and brother, noticing that the 3 of them also had red eyes and were silently nodding in confirmation. Grandpa took a deep breath, his chest heaving violently. A hot tear rolled down from the wrinkled corner of the eye of this man who had been made of iron his entire life. Seeing Grandpa fall silent and frown, Mumu mistakenly thought he was angry at my gift. She smugly stepped forward, intending to snatch the knee pads away. "Grandpa, let me throw this dirty thing away so it doesn't pollute your eyes. Get lost. Don't touch my granddaughter's things with your dirty hands." Grandpa roared like a clap of thunder. The authority in his voice was so powerful that Mumu jolted in fright, tripped on the edge of the carpet, and fell flat on the floor. Her face turned pale as a sheet. She stared blankly as Grandpa tremblingly cradled the coarse wool knee pads like a priceless treasure. "Dirty? Garbage?" Grandpa snorted coldly, glaring at Mumu with eyes as sharp as knives. "This is the most genuine, most precious sincerity I have received in my entire life. What's so precious about a famous painter's work? The money used to buy that painting was swiped from the Lin family's card. Did you make it with your own hands that you dare to act arrogant and mock her? From now on, if I hear you utter half a word of contempt toward Wan, I will immediately kick you out of this house." Mumu trembled violently, her tears spilling over again, but this time she was so terrified she didn't dare cry out loud. She only bit her lip tightly and lowered her head to the floor. My parents and Lin Hao looked at her with utter disgust. Not a single person had any intention of stepping forward to help her up. Grandpa turned to look at me. His fierce gaze vanished instantly, replaced by a tenderness and heartache he had never shown to anyone else. Trembling, he rolled up his pant legs and personally put the 2 coarse wool knee pads on his legs. "Silly child, the herbs you picked smell wonderful, and the wool you knitted is very warm. You have endured too much hardship," he said, his voice choking with emotion. Saying that, he reached up and took off the red string around his neck. Resting in his wrinkled palm was an emerald green jade pendant, exquisitely and anciently carved into the shape of a phoenix. This was the Lin family's heirloom jade, passed down only to the heir or the biological daughter carrying the family's orthodox bloodline. Grandpa personally placed the necklace around my neck, carefully tucking the jade inside my old t-shirt to warm it. "From today on, you are this old man's most precious gem. Whoever dares to touch a single hair on your head, I will fight them with my old life." I looked up at Grandpa, tears falling steadily, but this time they were genuine tears of happiness. I reached up to touch the jade pendant that carried his warmth and obediently nodded. "Yes, thank you, Grandpa." On the floor, Lin Mumu watched as the family heirloom she had desperately yearned for over so many years easily landed around my neck. Her hands clawed violently at the plush carpet, her fingernails bending and bleeding. She is unwilling to accept this. She is about to go crazy. Standing beside Grandpa, I quietly took in her pathetic state. "Go crazy, Mumu. Because the best, most fatal show is still waiting for you ahead." My first day attending the most elite aristocratic high school in the city arrived. Worried that I wasn't used to the new environment, the whole family fought over who would take me to school. In the end, my brother, Lin Hao, won the escort rights. A sleek, low-chassis black sports car stopped in front of the school gates, attracting countless stares. Before I got out of the car, Lin Hao carefully adjusted my uniform collar, pressed a powerful, exclusive black card into my hand, and gently instructed, "For lunch, choose the best dishes. Whatever you want to buy, just swipe my card. If anyone bullies you, call me immediately. Understand?" I obediently nodded, waved goodbye to him, and hugged my backpack as I walked through the school gates. I was assigned to the same class as Lin Mumu. I didn't know how much ground she had lost at home, but at school, she was undeniably a queen bee, surrounded by a clique of rich young ladies. As soon as I walked into the classroom, I could feel mocking and scrutinizing gazes shooting at me from all directions. I quietly found an empty seat in the back corner of the classroom and sat down. Carefully, I took out my brand new textbooks, which still smelled fresh off the press, and arranged them neatly on my desk. For someone who once had to scavenge for torn, tattered books in the garbage dump just to study in secret, these new books were like absolute treasures. Right at that moment, a tall figure walked over and slammed an expensive handbag onto my desk. It was Zhao Na, Lin Mumu's best friend and her most capable lackey. "Hey, I heard you're the biological daughter the Lin family just picked up from the countryside." Zhao Na crossed her arms over her chest, lifting her chin to look at me with disdain. "Looking at this filthy, rustic appearance of yours, having you sit in the same classroom as us really pollutes the air." The group of friends around her burst into laughter. Sitting a few desks away, the corners of Mumu's lips curled into a smug smile, but she feigned gentleness as she spoke up. "Nah, don't say that. Sister just came from the countryside and isn't used to a civilized lifestyle yet. She'll slowly learn." Zhao Na curled her lip, casually picking up the glass of water on her desk. "Oh, please. Let's see what this kind of mud can actually learn." With a fake gasp, followed by a swift and decisive motion, Zhao Na swung her arm and splashed the entire full glass of water straight onto my desk. The cold water soaked a large patch of my uniform. But the worst part was that all the brand new textbooks I had just neatly arranged were drenched. The pristine white pages were smeared with ink, sticking together in an incredibly pathetic mess. "Oops, my hand slipped," Zhao Na sneered, pretending to cover her mouth. "But whatever. A country bumpkin like you wouldn't understand the advanced curriculum of an aristocratic school anyway." I helped wet them so you have an excuse not to study. No need to thank me. I stood frozen, my trembling hands touching the soaked pages. My eyes were red, my nose stung, but I didn't open my mouth to fight back, nor did I shed a single tear. I just bit my lip tightly, lowered my head, and used my sleeve to try and wipe the puddles of water off the desk. At the exact same time, a heartbroken, shattered sob echoing with extreme grievance rang out in my mind. My books are all wet. These are the books Mom personally covered for me this morning. Back in the countryside, my uncle tore my books to shreds to start the stove fire, and I had to cry and beg, picking up the half-burned scraps of paper just to learn how to read. I thought coming here meant I could study properly, but it's okay. Zhao Na is Mumu's best friend. If I argue with her, Mumu will lose face. When she goes home and cries feeling wronged, Mom and Dad will be in a difficult position. It doesn't matter if I suffer a little grievance. As long as I can go home and see the smiles of Mom, Dad, and brother, I can endure being splashed with water, scolded, or beaten at school. I absolutely cannot implicate that warm family. Bang! A deafening noise shattered the room, causing the noisy classroom to instantly fall dead silent. The thick wooden door of the classroom was kicked open with terrifying force, slamming hard against the wall and leaving small cracks in the plaster. Lin Hao walked in. He had originally intended to take a stroll around the corridors to see if his sister was integrating well, never expecting to hear those heartbreaking, sobbing inner thoughts echoing from inside the classroom. At this moment, Lin Hao's expression was as terrifying as an Azura stepping out of hell. The chilling aura radiating from him seemed to drop the room's temperature below freezing. His deep black eyes locked onto Zhao Na, who was standing completely pale beside my desk. Terrified, Zhao Na stumbled back several steps, stammering, "Brother Lin Hao, are you here to see Mumu?" Seeing her brother appear, Mumu's eyes lit up. Thinking he was here to back her up, she hurriedly stood up, swaying her hips as she ran over, intending to link arms with him. "Brother, why are you?" "Get lost!" Lin Hao roared, swatting away the arm Mumu was extending toward him. He brushed past her as if she were a pile of trash, taking long strides straight toward me. Looking at my drenched uniform and the ruined books on the desk, the veins on Lin Hao's forehead throbbed violently. He carefully took off his designer suit jacket and draped it over my shoulders to cover the wet patch. Then, he turned around, coldly backing Zhao Na against the wall. "Your hand slipped?" Lin Hao repeated Zhao Na's earlier words, his hoarse voice carrying a clear, murderous intent. "Which hand did you use to splash it just now?" Zhao Na trembled like a leaf, tears of sheer terror beginning to fall. She was a wealthy young lady, but compared to the Lin family consortium, the Zhao family was nothing but an ant. Brother Lin, I was just joking around with her," Zhao Na sobbed loudly. "Mumu, hurry up and say something to help me." Seeing her best friend plead for help and noticing the countless eyes watching her, Mumu had no choice but to bite the bullet and step forward. "Brother, Nana really just slipped. Besides, Sister Wan isn't hurt. If you act like this, people will say the Lin family uses its power to bully others. You shut your mouth right now." Lin Hao whipped his head around, his gaze stabbing into Mumu's face like a dagger. "You indulge your friends in bullying your own biological sister, and now you dare open your mouth to preach morality to me? This afternoon, I will cut off all your credit cards." As for you, Lin Hao turned back to Zhao Na, enunciating every word through gritted teeth. "Tell your Zhao family to prepare for bankruptcy. This very afternoon, I will have someone buy up all the shares of the Zhao family. As for you, pack your things and get the hell out of this school voluntarily. Otherwise, I will personally buy this school and throw you out." Hearing this, Zhao Na's legs gave way. She collapsed onto the floor, wailing miserably. Lin Hao didn't bother sparing her another glance. He turned around, his eyes instantly turning gentle as he looked at me. His large hand firmly grasped my freezing one, and his voice was warm. "Wan, let's go." No one here is worthy of being your classmate. I'll take you home, and tomorrow we'll transfer you to a better school. I obediently nodded, nuzzling into the warm jacket that carried my brother's minty scent, and walked away quietly. Before walking out the door, I turned my head back. Lin Mumu stood rooted to the spot in the middle of the classroom, her face alternating between green and pale. The classmates who used to flatter her had now backed away, looking at her with guarded and mocking expressions. She was the dignified second miss of the Lin family, yet her brother would rather protect a country bumpkin than save her even a shred of face. I smiled faintly. Just enjoy the feeling of being abandoned, Lin Mumu. That position was mine in the previous life. In this life, I am returning it all to you. The Lin family's autumn charity banquet was held in the most magnificent main hall of the five-star hotel owned by the family. This was not only an event gathering the city's most prestigious high society, but it was also the occasion for my parents to officially announce my identity. When the massive ironwood doors carved with solid gold motifs were pushed open, every gaze in the banquet hall, sparkling under crystal chandeliers, converged on the main staircase. I walked down the red-carpeted steps. I was wearing the pure white silk evening gown that Mom had personally chosen for me the other day. The exquisite lace mock-neck design completely concealed my scars, while the slightly cinched waist accentuated my slender figure. My hair was styled in an elegant updo, adorned with a tiara encrusted with tiny, sparkling diamonds. Resting against my collarbone was the heirloom jade pendant, radiating a gentle warmth. To my right was my dignified grandpa, leaning on his cane. To my left was my father, his face beaming with pride. Right behind me were Mom and brother Lin Hao, their eyes glued to me, overflowing with protective doting. Whispers and discussions immediately broke out around us, filled with gasps of admiration. Is this the true daughter of the Lin family? Her elegance is incredible. She truly has the bone structure of a noble lineage. I heard she lived in the countryside for many years, yet her steps aren't timid at all, and her smile is so pure. She's truly a hidden gem. I maintained a shy smile, obediently bowing to greet the distinguished guests under my parents' guidance. With every word of praise that reached my ears, I covertly scanned the room for a familiar figure. Lin Mumu was hiding in a dim corner near the beverage table. Ever since my brother cut off all her credit cards, she hadn't been able to buy expensive dresses or hire private makeup artists anymore. Today, she had no choice but to wear an old, pale pink dress. Her makeup was also somewhat washed out and lackluster. The wealthy young ladies who used to surround and flatter her now all avoided her, treating her like air. Mumu held a glass of red wine in her hand, gripping it so tightly that her knuckles turned white. Her eyes were bloodshot, staring at me with jealousy and resentment like a venomous snake stalking its prey. I withdrew my gaze, pretending not to notice anything, and continued to enjoy the warmth of my family. Halfway through the banquet, while my parents and brother were surrounded by a group of business partners chatting, I excused myself to stand on the balcony for a moment to get some fresh air. Right at that moment, Auntie Wang, a longtime servant of the Lin family, timidly approached me. She kept her head down, her hands interlaced, nervously wringing her apron. "Eldest Miss," Auntie Wang said in a trembling voice, her forehead dotted with beads of sweat. "Madam asked me to call you to the back of the banquet hall for a moment. She is waiting for you in the wine cellar, hoping you can help her select a few bottles of wine to serve the distinguished guests." I narrowed my eyes slightly, quietly observing Auntie Wang. The Lin family had dozens of professionally trained staff specifically for handling wine. Why would Mom send Auntie Wang, someone whose sole job was in the kitchen, to call me? Furthermore, Auntie Wang's eyes kept darting around, occasionally sneaking glances toward the partition at the end of the hallway, the very place where I had just seen the shadow of Lin Mumu's pink dress flash by. I was smart enough to realize this was a trap. However, instead of exposing Auntie Wang on the spot, I obediently nodded and offered a gentle smile. "Yes, please lead the way, Auntie." As I followed Auntie Wang away from the noisy main hall, I lowered my eyelashes, letting a heavy, resigned sigh echo in my mind, transmitting straight into the brains of my parents, brother, and grandpa, who were not far away. Auntie Wang is trembling so much, and her forehead is covered in sweat. I clearly saw the shadow of Mumu's pink dress lurking in that corner earlier. She must be looking for a way to vent her anger on me. If I scream or refuse to go now, it will attract everyone's attention. It was so hard for me to finally get to wear such a beautiful dress, to have Grandpa pat my head, and to have my parents proudly hold my hand in front of so many people. I absolutely don't want this painstakingly prepared banquet to become a laughingstock because of me. At worst, I'll just let Mumu trick me into a deserted corner, slap me a few times, and scold me to vent her anger. It's fine. I'm used to being beaten anyway. Enduring a little pain in exchange for the peace of this family is completely worth it. The moment my inner thoughts faded, a piercing crash rang out from the center of the banquet hall. I didn't need to turn around to know that either Dad or my brother had just crushed a wine glass in their hands. But I didn't stop walking. I wanted to see just how cruel of a trick Lin Mumu was going to play. Auntie Wang led me down a short hallway, turning behind the giant partition of the main hall. This place was completely deserted, in stark contrast to the melodious music and boisterous laughter just one wall away. Stopping in front of a thick steel door covered with insulation, Auntie Wang tremblingly reached out and unlocked the latch. An icy blast of air rushed out from inside, making me shiver slightly. This wasn't a normal wine cellar, it was the hotel's walk-in freezer. Madam is inside looking for wine. Eldest miss, please go in, Auntie Wang said breathlessly. Her eyes were full of guilt, but ultimately, she took a step back. I took a deep breath and calmly stepped through the metal doorframe. The very second my entire body was swallowed by the dark, freezing room, a violent shove hit my back from behind. I stumbled and fell hard onto the slippery, ice-covered floor. Bang! The thick steel door slammed shut right before my eyes. The dry sound of the lock on the outside engaging let out a cold click. Darkness engulfed me. The freezing air immediately penetrated my thin silk dress, stabbing agonizing needles straight to my bones. I sat slumped on the icy stone floor, looking up at the faint glimmer of light slipping through the single gap at the bottom of the door. Outside, Lin Mumu's low, malicious laughter reached my ears. Stand there and be an idiot, Lin Wanwan. Today, I'll let you taste what it's like to be frozen into a stone statue. I didn't answer her. I just wrapped my arms around my body, which was beginning to tremble from the cold, the corners of my mouth curving up slightly in the darkness. Mumu, you picked a great spot. Only one wall away from the banquet hall, just close enough to perform the best play of the night. The temperature in the freezer plummeted to sub-zero in the blink of an eye. The thin silk dress on my body was no better than a wet piece of paper, unable to block the freezing drafts that were slicing into my flesh. In less than 2 minutes, tiny white frost crystals had formed on my eyelashes, and my exhaled breath turned into faint clouds of mist that vanished into the thick darkness. Through the gap at the bottom of the door, I heard the clack-clack of Lin Mumu's heels fading away and disappearing. She had left to return to the banquet hall to play the innocent young lady, leaving only Auntie Wang standing guard outside. Shivering, I crawled closer to the steel door. Pressing my already paling lips to the gap, I tried to use my last bit of strength to speak. My voice was hoarse and broken from the cold. Auntie Wang, you're still out there, right? There was no reply, but I could hear heavy breathing and the sound of restless, shifting footsteps right on the other side of the door. Listen to me, Auntie. I know you need money to treat your son's illness, but how much did Mumu give you? Do you really think that after today, a cruel person like her will let you walk away safely with the money? You are acting as her accomplice in murder. If I die here, your son on his hospital bed will bear the title of a murderer's child. Stop talking. Auntie Wang's weeping, moaning voice came through the steel door. Eldest miss, I'm sorry, I have no other choice. Second miss said she only wanted to lock you up for a little while to scare you into leaving. I didn't mean to. The cold began to invade my brain, blurring my vision. I knew it was useless to reason with someone driven into a corner. I shrank back, hugging my knees tightly, curling up into a tiny ball in the middle of the ice-filled room. It's time. I squeezed my eyes shut, relaxing my mind to let the extreme terror, the grievance, and the most intense desire to live burst forth from my soul. A silent, screaming voice tore through space, penetrating straight through the partition and crashing into the minds of the four most important people in my life out in the banquet hall. It's so cold, cold to the bone. The door is locked from the outside. Is anyone there? Please open the door for me. Dad, Mom, brother, where is everyone? Has anyone noticed that I disappeared? Or are you all too busy entertaining guests and forgot about me? It was so hard for me to finally get to wear a beautiful dress, to be patted on the head by Grandpa, to be held in Mom's arms. I haven't even had the chance to fully enjoy the warmth of a family yet. Why is heaven so cruel? Letting me taste a little happiness only to push me to my death. It hurts so much. My hands and feet are completely stiff. I can't breathe anymore. Mom, save me. I'm so scared of the dark. I don't want to freeze to death in this cold, dark corner. The moment my inner voice ceased, the world outside the partition seemed to explode. Crash. Shatter. The clear sound of countless glass cups falling and smashing to pieces rang out. The melodious symphony music was abruptly cut off by an ear-piercing screech from the sound system. Wan, where are you? My mother's voice cried out, tearing through the noisy atmosphere of the banquet hall. It was no longer the tone of an elegant, dignified madam, but the desperate, utterly agonized scream of a mother having her heart ripped out. Following that was my father's beast-like roar, lock down the entire hotel. Close all the entrances and exits. No one gets in, no one gets out. Whoever dares to stand in the way, the Lin family will level them to the ground. Outside the freezer door, Auntie Wang jumped in terror, letting out a panicked yelp. She realized the horrifying chaos that was descending. The sound of thundering footsteps echoed like an earthquake, accompanied by a soaring murderous intent rushing straight toward the hallway behind the partition. Get out of the way. Everyone, get the hell out of my way. That was Lin Hao's voice. My brother was roaring, his tone displaying an unprecedented, frenzied ferocity. The sound of tables and chairs crashing down, the clatter of objects being thrown aside, it all proved he was using the most violent, brute force to clear a bloody path straight to me. Auntie Wang was scared out of her wits. She didn't dare linger a second longer, stumbling as she ran for her life toward the hotel's back door. The clatter of her heels faded away. As for me, my consciousness began to blur. The cold had frozen every cell in my body. I gently rested my head against the snow-covered wall. The heirloom jade pendant around my neck was the only thing left offering a faint glimmer of warmth. Bang! 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 The steel door violently shuddered under kicks of terrifying power. It's locked. Bring a hammer and smash it open. Lin Hao roared frantically. Hurry up. My sister is inside. No need for a hammer. A deafening crash echoed. The sturdy steel lock was smashed to pieces by the force of a fire extinguisher. Creak, bang. The door to the freezer was kicked open, slamming hard against the wall. Blinding light from the hallway poured in, dispelling the thick darkness. In my fading, hazy vision, I saw Lin Hao toss aside the fire extinguisher, his hands covered in blood from being cut by iron shards, as he frantically rushed in. He didn't care about the bone-chilling cold, dropping to his knees on the stone floor and pulling my stiff body tightly into his embrace. Wan, brother is here. Brother is here to save you. Don't be afraid, I'm right here. Lin Hao held me tight, tearing off his warm suit jacket to wrap up my violently shivering body. His large hands pressed against my freezing cheeks. His voice broke, panicking so much that he burst into tears. Right behind him, my parents rushed in. The moment my mother saw my purple lips, her legs gave way, and she collapsed onto the floor. She grabbed my hand, tears streaming down her face, crying so hard she couldn't breathe. My baby, my good girl. Mom is sorry. Mom is late. My father stood towering at the doorway, but his broad shoulders were trembling violently. His eyes were shot with fiery red veins, and an explosive, murderous aura enveloped the entire space. He whipped his head around to glare at the trembling hotel manager behind him, enunciating every word with a chilling tone as if returning from the realm of the dead. Check the security cameras immediately. Find out who lured my daughter in here, and who locked the door. I want them to wish they were dead. Tucked safely in Lin Hao's steadfast embrace, I felt warmth gradually returning to my body. Through the corners of my half-open eyes, I saw the tears streaming down my brother's resolute face and the sheer agony of my mother. My goal has been achieved. Using the last of my failing strength, I gently buried my head into my brother's chest, peacefully closed my eyes, and let myself sink into unconsciousness. Tonight, this magnificent banquet hall will become a custom-made graveyard for Lin Mumu. When I opened my eyes again, the faint smell of antiseptic mixed with the warmth from a heater assaulted my senses. I was lying on a large bed, covered by a thick wool blanket. This room was likely a high-end VIP suite on the top floor of the hotel. My body was no longer stiff, but my fingertips still throbbed with a dull, aching numbness. Right beside the bed, my mother was slumped over, her hands tightly clutching mine. Her eyes were swollen and red, looking as if she had cried until she had no tears left. Seeing my eyelashes flutter, she hurriedly leaned in, her voice hoarse. "Wan, you're awake. Thank heavens. The doctor said you just suffered from extreme cold exposure. With some rest and recovery, you'll be fine. You scared Mom half to death, baby." I struggled to move the corners of my mouth, intending to comfort her, but a loud noise from the living room outside drew my attention. "Kneel down." Lin Hao's voice boomed like thunder. I sneaked a peek through the crack of the slightly open door. In the middle of the spacious living room, two men in black suits forcefully threw someone onto the carpet. It was Lin Mumu. She was still wearing that pink evening gown, but her makeup was ruined by tears, and her hair was in a pathetic, tangled mess. Right next to her, Auntie Wang was also kneeling flat on the ground, her entire body trembling like a leaf. My father, Lin Jinnan, was sitting in a leather armchair, his face as dark as a gathering storm cloud. Grandpa stood by the window, leaning on his cane, breathing heavily. His chest heaved violently with anger. Mumu, thrown onto the floor, hastily scrambled on her knees toward my father, crying miserably. "Dad. Dad, what did I do wrong? Why are you letting the bodyguards treat me like this? I was just entertaining guests down in the hall." "Shut your mouth." My father roared, grabbing a stack of documents from the table and throwing them straight at her face. "Open your malicious eyes and look at what this is." Photographs printed from the security camera footage scattered across the floor. They clearly showed Mumu standing hidden behind the partition, directing Auntie Wang, and then the scene of her smugly twisting the steel lock herself, trapping me inside the freezer. Mumu's face instantly turned ashen, devoid of any color. She stammered, her eyes darting frantically to find a way to deny the crime. "No. It wasn't me. Dad, it was a blind spot. Someone definitely doctored the photos to frame me. It was Auntie Wang." "That's right, Auntie Wang did it on her own. I didn't know anything about it." Hearing herself being made the scapegoat, Auntie Wang immediately threw her head up, wailing miserably. "Second miss, you can't be this heartless. You clearly used my son's surgery money to blackmail me, forcing me to lure eldest miss in there. You even said that as long as eldest miss froze to death, the Lin family would be yours alone." "Master, madam, I recorded her phone call." Auntie Wang frantically pulled an old cell phone out of her apron pocket, pressing the play button. Lin Mumu's shrill, vicious voice instantly echoed throughout the room. "Do it cleanly. As soon as you lock the door tight, I will immediately transfer your kids' hospital fees. If you dare breathe a word of this, I will pull the plug on that little brat's ventilator." The moment the recording ended, the entire room sank into a terrifying silence. The air was so suffocating that you could clearly hear the grinding of Lin Hao's teeth. Mumu was in a state of absolute panic. Knowing she could no longer deny it, she switched to her familiar emotional routine. She turned and hugged my brother's leg, tears streaming down her face. "Brother, you love me the most." I was just confused for a moment. I was afraid that when sister came back, she would steal everyone's love. I love this family too much, that's why I did something so foolish. "Brother, please forgive me just this once." Hearing those deceitful excuses, I lay on my bed and slowly closed my eyes. It's time to deliver the final, fatal blow. I relaxed my mind, letting my most feeble, weeping, and resigned thoughts transmit to the brains of my family members standing outside. Are Mom and Dad scolding Mumu? She probably just slipped her hand and locked the door as a joke. Please don't be too hard on her. After all, Mumu is the daughter Mom and Dad raised and loved for 16 years, while I am just a clumsy country bumpkin who just came home. How can our bonds compare? If she gets kicked out or punished because of me, Mom and Dad will definitely be heartbroken, and brother will be sad too. It doesn't matter if I suffer a little cold. In the countryside during winter, I didn't have warm blankets or soft mattresses, but I still survived wearing torn clothes. As long as this family isn't torn apart, as long as Mom and Dad don't cry, tomorrow I will take the initiative to apologize to Mumu. I can give everything back to her. My inner thoughts were filled with humble sacrifice, yet they were like 10,000 poisoned knives plunging straight into my parents' hearts. My mother let go of my hand, staggered to her feet, and dashed out into the living room like a madwoman. Without saying a word, she swung her arm and delivered a resounding slap to Lin Mumu's face. Slap. The force was so strong that Mumu was sent flying across the floor, blood trickling from the corner of her mouth. My mother stood there, her whole body trembling, tears pouring down like rain. She pointed at the face of the daughter she had cherished for 16 years, her voice shattered by pain. My daughter just woke up, and the first thing she thought of wasn't hatred. She was afraid of making us sad, so she wanted to apologize to a demon like you. You enjoyed 16 years of luxury relying on her identity, yet you had the heart to push her to her death. Her kindness only highlights the filthy, rotten nature in your blood. Lin Hao stepped forward, using the toe of his leather shoe to kick Mumu's shoulder hard, his voice chilling. Love this family? Your very existence in this house is the biggest insult to Wan Wan. My father slowly stood up. He pulled a pre-prepared contract from his suit pocket and threw it straight into Mumu's face. Sign it. It was a document confirming the severance of all adoptive ties. From this moment on, you no longer have any ties to the Lin family. My father turned to look at the two bodyguards, his tone ruthless. And don't think walking out that door is the end of it. The police are waiting in the lobby. Hand her over to them. For the charge of attempted murder, I will hire the best legal team in the city to ensure she rots in prison, making her taste every bit of the suffering she intended to inflict upon my daughter. Hearing the word prison, Lin Mumu went completely insane. Her hypocritical mask shattered, revealing a twisted, manic face. She no longer cried but screamed out the most venomous curses. You are all hypocrites. Cold-blooded monsters. 16 years of affection can't compare to a dirty country wench who just crawled back. Lin Wan Wan, I curse you. I curse all of you to never know peace. Before Mumu could even finish her curses, my brother impatiently waved his hand. The two bodyguards immediately grabbed her arms, dragging her out the door like a bag of trash. Her screams gradually faded and completely disappeared down the cold hallway. The room returned to silence. My parents, brother, and grandpa all stood quietly, their eyes red. They slowly walked into the bedroom, where I was weakly opening my eyes to look at them. This family had finally uprooted its most toxic thorn. From now on, my life would only be filled with warm light. 3 days after the nightmare in the walk-in freezer, I was discharged from the hospital and returned home. The Lin family villa was bathed in warm sunlight today. The dark curtains had all been replaced with light, airy white fabric. On the living room table sat a vase of pure white lilies of the valley, emitting a gentle fragrance that dispelled all the gloom of the past days. That afternoon, my brother Lin Hao returned from the courthouse. He took off his jacket and draped it over the back of a chair. His face looked tired, but his eyes radiated immense relief. "Everything is settled," Lin Hao said in a low voice to our parents after downing a glass of water. Under the pressure of irrefutable evidence, Lin Mumu had to bow her head and plead guilty to attempted murder. Considering she is not yet 18, the court has sentenced her to the maximum penalty in a juvenile reformatory. My father, sitting in his armchair, nodded coldly. That is still too light for what she dared to do to Wan Wan. What about her biological family? Lin Hao smirked faintly. Her biological father is a gambling addict and a drunkard. As soon as he heard that the Lin family severed the adoption ties and wouldn't provide another penny, he went crazy and caused a huge scene at the gates of the reformatory. He cursed Mumu for being useless and threatened that once she gets out, he will sell her to gangsters to pay off his debts. From now on, her life will be nothing but a living hell created by her own flesh and blood. Hearing this, my mother didn't bother to comment further. She just sighed softly, as if letting go of a heavy burden that had clung to her for 16 years. She turned to me, gently smoothing the hair resting on my shoulders. Let's not mention irrelevant people anymore. Today is a joyous day for our family. Butler, serve dinner. Tonight's dinner didn't consist of cold, bloody Western dishes, nor were there heavy silver knives and forks. On the long dining table covered with a pristine white cloth, the chef had prepared a spread of piping hot, steaming traditional Asian dishes. Yam porridge, sweet and sour ribs, chicken soup stewed with red dates, all my favorites. I sat in the center seat, enveloped by everyone's love. My father, a man who had been strict his entire life, personally scooped a bowl full of chicken soup and meat for me today. Eat more, my daughter. You've gotten too thin lately. Once you're fully recovered, Dad will transfer 10% of the consortium's shares to your name, so you'll have the capital to freely do whatever you like. Sitting opposite me, Grandpa stroked his white beard and laughed heartily. What do my son's shares amount to? Wan, tomorrow Grandpa will have someone set up a trust fund in your name. Only you will have the right to withdraw from it. You can buy as many dresses and jewels as you want. My brother Lin Hao wasn't about to be outdone. He tapped his fingers lightly on the table, raising an eyebrow. Just swipe the black card I gave you freely. The sister of Lin Hao doesn't need to look at the price tag when spending money. My mother, sitting beside me, didn't promise money, she just continuously placed the best pieces of ribs into my bowl, her eyes brimming with an unspeakable tenderness. Looking at my rice bowl piled as high as a mountain, and then looking at the radiant, doting faces around me, my nose unconsciously stung. I put down my chopsticks, lowered my head, and let hot tears fall one after another onto the backs of my hands. Seeing me cry, the whole family immediately panicked. Wan, what's wrong? Is the food not to your taste? Does something hurt? Let brother call a doctor. Amidst that frantic yet loving atmosphere, I gently shook my head, letting my most genuine, most radiant inner thoughts echo and warm the minds of the four of them. It's so warm. Everything feels like a beautiful dream I never dared to dream before. No more half-to-death beatings, no more cold, starving nights out by the pig pen, and no one scheming to frame me anymore. Dad, Mom, brother, and Grandpa are all here, all protecting me. So being the biological daughter of the Lin family is this happy. I don't need to live in constant fear anymore. I don't need to cower and endure anyone anymore. Starting tomorrow, I will live proudly. I will spend the rest of my life repaying everyone with filial piety. I love my family so much. The moment that crystal clear, joy-filled voice faded, the frantic movements of my parents, brother, and grandpa all came to a halt. They weren't crying anymore. My father burst into hearty laughter, the booming sound echoing throughout the dining room. Grandpa nodded in sheer satisfaction, a gleam of pride shining in his wrinkled eyes. Lin Hao reached out and ruffled my hair, the corners of his lips curving into the warmest smile I had ever seen. My mother pulled me into a deep embrace, kissed my forehead lightly, and said in a sweet, choked voice, "That's right, my baby. From now on, just live proudly. The sky of the Lin family is yours to rule as you please." I wrapped my arms around my mother, nuzzled my head into the crook of her shoulder, and smiled radiantly. Finally, after so many storms, the pitiful, enduring mask could be taken off. The true wealthy daughter of the Lin family had officially returned home. The end.